Right, right. And there's this precedent of the story of Abraham, who you know, was told by God to kill his son Isaac, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know, he wasn't exalted because he, you know, deceived God and not killing his child. He was exalted because he was more than willing to go through with it, and you know,
Exactly.
here we have a very sort of evil thing being held up as sort of this wonderful thing that Abraham did. So,
okay. Well, we can go ahead and take some callers now.
Okay.
Let's see. First off, we have Todd. How you doing?
Fine. How you doing?
Pretty well.
Good. I'm listening at your supposedly expert. I don't know whether his expertise is from a book that he read or he's an expert on myths. He's researched the life of Christ. He's just talking. I saw the book that he held up.
Okay.
He knows very little about the Bible, so I guess he's basing what he says, what he's saying on the writings of others. For an example, the idea that Abraham did this evil thing. If he had read the Bible, then he would be assured that Abraham followed God's advice, and he would have, but God did not allow him to, and God was testing his faith.
Okay.
No. The point I was making is that he would have gone through with it.
Yeah.
He wasn't saying, "Oh, I'm going to deceive this God and not kill my kid, who I love very much." That wasn't the point. The point was that he loved God more than his child. That was the whole point of the story.
Yes, but now the whole point of the story is that, as Abraham said, that he trusted in God, and he knew that if he had slain his son, that God, who gave life at the beginning, could raise him back. But God, after testing him, didn't feel it was necessary. He provided a sacrifice, and
so that makes it all better.
So that makes it better?
Sure it does. He didn't kill his son like you alleged.
But why would a loving God demand that you sacrifice your son, even if he's going to pull that back at the last minute and say, "Okay, I was just kidding anyway"?
Sounds pretty evil.
You're saying that he sacrificed his son, and he didn't. It was a test, and he passed the test. There was no reason to sacrifice his son. So what I'm saying is, this fellow here,
I think you've twisted my words, but
what's your name? Don Baker?
My name is Don Baker.
What is your expertise? What is your degree? What do you know about the Bible, other than what you've read?
Well, reading it kind of helps typically.
Yeah, but I mean, apparently he hasn't read the Bible, because
I've read the sections of the Bible that are quoted.
First of all,
do you debate
said
anything?
that the life of Christ is a myth when it's a historical fact.
Okay, what evidence do you have of this fact? What evidence do you have of this fact?
Historically, it's mentioned in Josephus.
Yeah, which is a fraud.
Wait a minute. You asked me a question. Let me answer your question.
Okay, and point by point, Josephus is one passage in the writings that it's just kind of stuck in amongst other things that he was writing. It doesn't really flow. It doesn't fit. It's written in a different way, and pretty much every historical scholar, biblical scholar, has said that it's a forgery. It was put in there much later.
People lie. You know, there were 500 people that saw Jesus.
Okay, what evidence do we have of these 500 people?
Wait a minute. You asked me a question.
Okay, so what is the evidence of these 500 people? Point two.
If you give me a chance, I'll answer your question. If you keep talking, then we'll just be arguing.
Okay. Well, go on.
After Christ was resurrected, there were 500 people that saw him at once.
Okay.
And there were a lot of them living during the time of Paul. Paul even saw him.
Okay, but no. Wait a second. You said 500 people saw him.
Yes.
What evidence do we have of that? Other than it written here.
Yes.
What evidence do we have?
That's all the evidence you need.
That's one book.
That's all you need. You said that
they have Harry Potter books written out there.
You said first of all, you said it was a myth, but then you turned around and said, well, there's an account of this in just about every nation or tradition or what did I say?
No, there isn't. No.
Well,
I must not be speaking very clearly because I've apparently been very misunderstood.
Talking about the virgin birth, and he's talking about in other.
There were lots and lots of other gods in centuries before and prophets centuries before that were born of virgins.
Okay,
now
name one.
Mithra.
Okay, Mithra.
Mithra, when was he born?
It was a couple centuries before, but on what we can nail down, December 25th.
Oh, okay. So Mithra, this god supposedly Mithra.
Yes.
And did you say this is a myth?
Well, I believe that's a myth too, but
Yeah.
apparently everybody else does too. Nobody worships Mithra anymore.
Yeah, but Mithra. Well, I've never heard of Mithra other than probably in some book, God-denying book like you've read.
Yeah, if you do some searches, they come up with
people go
information on
around
it.
digging in holes and things, and they come up with all of these false gods. Mithra may have been a god.
So what evidence do you have that your God is not a false one, just like Mithra?
I've just told you, because he's living today. He was resurrected and seen of about 500
He's
people.
not making the news anywhere.
It doesn't make any difference as it make the news.
Well, it
The
does
fact
kind of
is
make a
that he was
difference if
seen
you
of
say he's
some
walking
people.
around.
Wait a minute. He was seen by people that committed their life to him, that he stayed on earth 40 days after he was resurrected.
Again,
and
evidence.
in order to quiet people like you who are God-denying people.
Again,
but
evidence.
I told you
Anything,
the evidence.
anything outside of this book, anything other than one
There
book.
does not need to be anything other than that book.
Okay,
Do you
well,
have
we
any
can bring
evidence of
in.
the virgin
The
birth,
that
which is
guy
what
that
we're
wrote that
focusing on?
other book is probably an atheist like you, and you're not going to realize that God exists until you face him, on your way to that place.
Okay, so back to the threats.
Yeah.
Back to the threats.
But it's a fact. It's not a threat. It's true.
Okay, well, that's
Okay,
what you
thanks for
say,
letting me talk
but
to
you
you.
have failed to give us any shred of evidence, and he hung up on us, so goodbye. Again, offered absolutely no evidence for things other than, well, the book says so. Mm-hmm. So what? Books say lots of things. Unless you have something to back up what's said in the book, some physical evidence, some other documents that back up these things,
Well,
then you can go
and,
on it.
and one of the points I made is that the book makes a big point of trying to say that he's descended from David, and by they have these long lineages, and when you start having other fathers involved, that's not what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about adoption. We're not talking about
Exactly.
Anyway, so his book is making other claims as well. So.
Yeah. So.